Yes, so I would encourage you, if you would, to take a look at that teaching, or listen to that teaching from last week in your when you have time. It is about an hour and 53 minutes in length. But you know, if you weren't here last week, I'd encourage you, if you would, and share it also. I encourage you to share it also. Okay. So he says, "O Yahuwah, my strength." Yirmiyahu chapter 16 and verse 19. "O Yahuwah, my strength and my stronghold and my refuge." Yahuwah is all these things. "In the days of distress, the Gentiles shall come to you from the ends of the earth and say." So the Gentiles shall come to you, Yahuwah, from the ends of the earth. Who is that speaking about? In the Bible, and especially in the Besorah, the word Gentile is used, the Besorah and the Hallelujah scriptures and these other new translations, where the true names have been put in some of their proper places. But in those scriptures, the word Gentile is used, even in the King James, where the word Gentile is more often properly used in the King James than it is in these newer translations. In the King James, that word is more properly represented than the way it is used in the newer translations. And the problem is because the newer translations, the newer translators, deny the fact that the people of the book are who they are. Okay? The newer translators deny the fact that the people of the book are who they are. Now they put the names back in, but they deny the fact of who the people of the book are, the natural identity of the natural seed of Yasharal. For them, the people of the book are the Israelis. And so because of that, they misuse the word Gentile. Okay, so in the King James, the word Gentile is used more often in its proper form than it is used in the Besorah or in the scriptures or in the Hallelujah scriptures. Okay, a little word like that, you would say, well, what's the big deal? It is a big deal. It is a big deal because it changes our total understanding of who the people are and why Mashiach really came. Okay? So it is a big deal. But them knowing this have changed the usage of the word. Okay? Yes, absolutely, Aki. Absolutely. The problem is they take the U and change it to a W, you know? So when they write it, they'll say it's Yahweh, you know? But they have it written the way it should be written. They just take it and say it's Yahweh, you know? But absolutely. All right. Now, so the Gentiles shall come to you from the ends of the earth. The Gentiles shall come to you from the ends of the earth. You know what this is speaking? Who are the Gentiles? The Gentiles are not the nations. The Gentiles are not the nations. The way that we have been taught, what we have been taught about Gentiles is that Gentiles are anybody who are not Israeli. Okay? Well, Israelis are not Yasharal. Okay? But we have been taught that Gentiles are anyone who are not Jews or who are not Israeli. So much lies. We have been given so much lies. Okay? And we come out of the church, and where do we look next? We look to Judaism. And this is exactly what it is. Okay? We look to Judaism. Or Judaism. And I'm going to put the ism in all caps. Okay? So when we come out of the church, next place we look to is Judaism. Okay? When we come out of the church. So what we look to. We look to Judaism. And the reason why we look there is because it looks like lawfulness. It looks like lawfulness. And you know what's the danger about something that looks like something it's not? And that's why Shaitan goes about as a roaring lion. Why do men in war wear camouflage? So that they cannot be seen by the enemy. They cannot be recognized by the enemy. So that they can blend in with their surrounding. And a man who can blend in, or a religion that can blend in, is far more dangerous than one that stands out, that is false. If you have a false religion that is plainly ridiculous, it's not dangerous. It's only dangerous to an absolute fool. But when you have a false religion that mirrors the truth, it is extremely dangerous, because it will suck in the innocent and they don't even realize it. And so we come out of Christianity. Yeah. We come out of Christianity and we look to Judaism. And we have been influenced by Judaism in ways that we don't even realize concerning many things. We have been influenced by Judaism when it comes to the identity of the people of the book. Judaism says that the people of the book are the Israelis. Judaism give us what we're just talking about, what they call their picture of Zit. Judaism have shaped our misunderstanding of Yahuwah's commands concerning his feast days and his muadim. Judaism have given us a misunderstanding of what Gentile means and who the Gentiles are. Judaism have done all these things. Okay, yeah, Key Mark said, just remember, our Yahusha wore them. Absolutely. And Yahusha wore them. And you know, I want to explain something there. I just want to make this clear and plain, because when I talk about Zit, and when I tell people who teach that it's a must, and I say to them, to teach that Zit is a must is false, they say I'm teaching false teaching because Yahusha wear them. So if Yahusha wore them, it's a must that we wear them. Okay? And if you look at the lessons that I did on YouTube, I'll explain. You see, Yahusha, it was a must. It was a must that Yahusha wore tassels. It was an absolute must. Why is that? Could anybody tell me in the room why it was a must for Yahusha to wear tassels? If I'll release the mic, or if you want to type, either or. If somebody in the room could just share. You know, I'll post a link here, Stursis. I'll post a link. Okay, let me release the mic to our code, Elizabeth.
Praise Father, hallelujah, hallelujah. All much love and baraka to everyone in the room. So wonderful to see the family and to listen to this wonderful lesson. Praise Abba. I could be wrong, but I think it's because it was before the sacrifice had been made. After the sacrifice, that is a once and for all. There is the salvation is through Yahusha, and but before that time, the tassels were necessary. That's just my take on it. And thank you so much for the mic.
Praise Yah and Tada. Tada a quote. Praise Yah and Tada. Again, what you were saying was absolutely right, but I've got to go a little bit further because Christians say the same thing, and when you say that, some people say, well, what you're saying is Christianity. But so a little bit more explanation is necessary, but what you're saying is absolutely right. And Stursis brings out a great point. Okay, Stursis brings out a great point. He says, wasn't it because of the Shabbat being broken by the man who was gathering sticks? And that's absolutely right. You see, people teach about tassels, and they teach you must, and tassels is a must, but if you ask them, why was the command given? Majority of them don't know why. They don't start reading from the beginning, from verse 37. They reject that, neglect that. But the why is very important to the existence of tassels, period. Okay? To get an understanding of why it was a must for Yahusha to wear them, we must know why it was given. Okay? So the reason why the command was given was because this man was out on Shabbat gathering sticks. The command was given that nobody, the law was given, and no one should be out on Shabbat gathering sticks. This man was out on Shabbat gathering sticks. So this is what Yahuwah says. When Masha asked what should he do, Yahuwah said, put him to death, and then I want you to do this. I want you to make tassels, and I want the people to wear them. Why? Everything that Yahuwah does has a why. Yahuwah is not a mindless dictator. Yahuwah don't just tell people things because he wants to make their lives miserable. Everything that he does has a why. We don't always know the why immediately, but he does reveal it eventually. Okay? So everything that Yahuwah does has a why. And so this man was out breaking Shabbat. Obviously, then he had a problem remembering the law. And there was nothing or no one active at that time to be a reminder to the people concerning the law. And we are a forgetful people. So what he did was he said, okay, you see, zit, literally, listen, you see the Hebrew, remember that Hebrew is a picture. The language, abri, is pictures. Okay, the language is picture. It's picture. That's why it's called pictographic. Okay, that's why it's called a pictographic language. Abri is a pictographic language. Literally meaning that what you're speaking is pictures. When you speak Abri, you're painting pictures. Okay? Now, why I say that is because when we say zit, if I spell it right, when we say zit, you know what we're saying literally? We're painting a picture. It is a picture that says, remember. Remember. It is a picture that says, remember. It is the word remember. Zit is the word remember. Tassels is the word remember. 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 So he said, put remember on the borders of your garment. Put remember on the borders of your garment. And as you walk down the street and you see your neighbor and you look down on your garment, you see remember. Remember what? Remember my law. Remember my commands to do them. Remember. Remember the law. Okay? He say put remember on the borders of your garment. Now why did they need to put remember on the borders of their garment? Because you see, before Yahusha came, when Yahusha came, you know, a whole lot of people teach also, and those people that teach this, zit is a must doctrine, teach this. A whole lot of people teach. You see, not everybody who come talking about Torah. Some people who come talking about Torah is amazingly toxic, is amazingly dangerous. I can't find a word to another way to say it. They're extremely dangerous. Some people come talking about Torah is extremely dangerous. They're the modern day scribes and Pharisees who were just as dangerous. They were dangerous. The scribes and Pharisees of Yahusha's day were extremely dangerous. Yes, remember that stoning. Remember the law. Absolutely, Key, Epps Kevin. Absolutely. Remember that stoning. Remember the law. Remember. So, okay, Aki, Ariyahu, where does it come from? Michael. You know, Aki, maybe you were asking me a question based on something that I had said, and I probably went past that. So I'm trying to put your question in perspective. I'm having a tough time. Do you have a microphone, Aki? The teaching. Oh, okay. Yeah, oh, boy. Well, you know, it seemed to me, because when I started looking towards synagogue, I found that teaching in synagogues. And then, you know, of course, we see people of Yasharal with it, but that's the first place where I saw it, you know. So it seemed to me that that's where it originated, you know. It seemed to me that's where it originated, Aki. And of course, since then, we've seen many people who are not in synagogue teaching it. But again, it comes from the influence that synagogue has had upon us. So we left the church and we looked to the synagogue, and the synagogue has influenced us greatly, you see. But what Yahuwah literally did was he said, remember. He said, put remember on the borders of your garment. And the reason why it was necessary to put remember on the borders of your garment is because there was no reminder at that time. You did not have a helper. So the scriptures tells us that there has been a change in Torah. And in fact, there has been. Some people say there is no change in Torah. Well, I'll say to you, and because Shahul, even Shahul said that, they say Shahul is a false prophet. Well, I say to you that the one who says there is no change in Torah is himself a false prophet. Okay? There's been a change in Torah. Okay? I don't know if anybody in the room want to just put up very quickly. I'm putting you on the spot. But if something comes to mind, if a change, for example, a change in Torah comes to mind that you could put up on the board here, could you type that? One change that you can think of. Can you think of one change in particular in Torah? Anyone? Can you think of one change that came through Yahuwah manifesting himself, becoming Redeemer for mankind? Can you think of one change there? Yes, the priesthood. The priesthood. No, well, no, Shabbat. No, Shabbat is the same. It hasn't changed. Yeah, Shabbat's the same, Aki. But the priesthood, and yes, yes, the sin offerings, and that goes along with the priesthood. Okay. All right, so sin offering, yes. Now, yes. Well, you know what? In respect to sin offering, but really the sacrificial laws are not done away with. Those they're on pause right now, but we'll return to making sacrifices. The scriptures tells us that. But in regards to the sin offering, the sacrifices that we make are no longer for a sin offering. The sacrifices that we will be making are no longer for a sin offering, but the sacrifices will be in place. Okay, so yes, in regards to the sin offering, the sacrificial law has been changed. Okay, so the priesthood has been changed, the sacrificial law has been changed. No more sin, the sin offering. That's all that I talk about, right? Yes, judgment has been changed. Okay, yes, stoning has been put to an end, because Yahuwah has reserved now judgment unto himself. That's why he says, judgment is mine, saith Yahuwah, I will repay. So it's not for us to go stoning anybody. Judgment, the law governing judgment, has been changed. So you see, as we study Torah, we find that there are many changes in Torah. Okay, it's not things done away with. There's a difference. There's a change. You see, judgment isn't done away with. There's just a change in judgment. So his law is not done away with, but things in his law has changed. And some things have been delayed, absolutely. Okay, so talking about change. Yahusha, when Yahusha came, Yahusha had to come in order to redeem his people. But in coming, after redemption, something else was necessary for him to do. Remember, he said that I have to leave, but a comforter, a helper, is named really, the title comforter is really incorrect. It's really helper. Helper is a better title. Okay, comforter doesn't really let us know the role of the Ruach. Okay, helper. He's our helper. You see, so when the priesthood was changed, you see, under the whole priesthood, under the old covenant, okay, before the covenant was changed, there was the Ruach only came upon people at specific times for a specific purpose, and then he would leave. The people did not have this indwelling reminder, this indwelling helper. The Ruach today is the one that reminds us and helps us. So because the people did not have this indwelling Ruach, this indwelling helper, this indwelling reminder, they needed a reminder. And it was not yet time for the indwelling reminder to come. Even before the indwelling reminder could come, Yahusha had to ascend and then come back in the form of Ruach. That's what the scriptures tells us. We'll go to that study as we continue the Hakat of Yahuwah. We'll get to that point. So he ascended. He said that he had to leave in order for the helper to come. And so after he left, the helper came, and the helper dwelt in us, and the helper is now the one that reminds us. Before that time, before Yahusha, we did not have the Ruach living in us. Nobody had the Ruach living in them. The Ruach would come upon a person for a short time and leave. No one had the Ruach living in them. So that's why they needed a reminder. They needed a helper. So you see, Zit was a prophetic picture of what? Or of whom? The indwelling Ruach. The one that would come and remind us. And so, he says, that when the Ruach comes, he would remind us of all things. When the helper comes, he would remind us of all things. So, the physical Zit, there's also been a change in the physical Zit. Because he was prophetic. It was prophetic of the Ruach. Now, I encourage people to wear Zit because it's a part of our heritage, not because it set you apart. You got people wearing Zit or fringes, and they look set apart on the outside, but their hearts is as black as a chimney. They speak, and all that comes from their mouth is folly. Cursings and swearings and all kinds of foolishness. I hear people on Pal Talk preaching, and in the middle of their preaching they're cursing. And they're calling themselves set apart. The Ruach do not abide in mess. Don't wallow in filth. You see? So there are some people who are taking prophetic pictures and making religion doctrines out of them and missing the message. Really missing the message. Yes, Aki, works of the flesh. So they dress the part. What are they? What did Yahusha call them? What would Yahusha have called them? Anybody remember? Whitewashed sepulchres, my wife said. Whitewashed sepulchres and blind guides. Whitewashed sepulchres. Why does he call them that? He explained why. He said, outwardly they look good, but inside they're filled with what? Dead men's bones. There's absolutely deadness on the inside. Outside, it looks good. Clean on the outside, stinking on the inside. Got maggots all over the place, rotting. They're whitewashed sepulchres. Clean on the outside, looking good on the outside. But inside they're filled with dead men's bones. They have no life in them. What is life? What is the life that should be in them? The Ruach. If anybody come to you teaching, and I've seen many, and I've seen many popular, I've seen a few popular ones who teach this. It's not according to the scriptures. I've seen those popular ones saying that there's no change, has been no change in Torah. There has been a change in Torah. There have been a few changes in Torah. The priesthood has changed. The role of the Ruach has changed. Zit has changed. But yet they say there's no change. You see, the priesthood came through Louis. Now the priesthood comes through who? Yahudah. The priesthood has changed. And so Yahusha had to wear, it was a must that he wore tassels, because the priesthood had not yet changed. Torah had not yet changed. He had to be the change. And to be the change, he had to fulfill the old covenant. He had to fill it to the full in order to bring about the change. Does change mean he did away with it? No. That's what Christianity teaches. But that's not what change means. What did he say he'd do? He said he made it a better covenant. And not only did he make it a better covenant, he magnified it. What does it mean to magnify? It means to make it bigger. Made it bigger. So now, because we have the indwelling Ruach, and not just remember written on the border of our garment, he has greater expectation from us because he has magnified his law, made his law bigger. So he said, you have heard it said that you should not commit adultery. Well, I say to you, if you look at a woman or a man to lust after him or her in your heart, then you have already committed adultery. You are guilty of the crime. I've given you the power to live a pure life. And that power is me living in you, the Ruach living in you. The same power that rose him from the dead, the Ruach, lives in us, quickens our mortal body. And if that power is so powerful to raise a man from the dead, it certainly can cause us to fly straight, right? And so he has empowered us to live righteously before him. He's empowered us to live righteously before him. Yes, praise Yah. Yes, Yahusha will be the high priest. Yahusha will be our high priest. Yahusha being Yahuwah. He himself will be our high priest. The scriptures lets us know. Okay? So we won't have a Harun being our high priest. But Yahusha will be our high priest. All right. So, I just wanted to respond to, hopefully that clarified it a little bit. And I have some videos there on YouTube. It's not the entire teaching, and I haven't gotten to the part where I talk about, the role of Zizit, how it is a part of our heritage and so on. I hadn't gotten to the part. I hadn't posted all of that, but hopefully what's there will help. Praise Yahuwah, praise Yahuwah. Well, we will all of us will be we will be in worship to Yahuwah. We will live together as one once again. The scriptures doesn't necessarily go into explaining the roles of each at that point as we live together as one. It doesn't go into explaining the roles of each, tribe or people. Doesn't go into that details concerning that period. But I've always that's always something that always intrigued me also, Aki. It's one that I'll always think about also, just wondering, but the other side to that is, you see, from our perspective, having not come face to face with Yahuwah, the temptation can be that, man, what are we going to be doing for all this time? Got to be something we're going to be doing. But when you read the book of Revelations, especially Revelations chapter 5, it tells us that every time the messengers and the people would see Yahuwah, they would cover their faces, they would bow down, and they would cry, set apart, set apart, set apart are you, Yahuwah Almighty. Because, you see, Yahuwah, every time we see him, he is continually revealing himself over and over again. So every time we see him, it's like we're seeing a newness of him. It's just like in our walk today. Every time we wake up and we seek his face, he reveals more of himself to us. He reveals more of himself to us, and it's like we fall in love afresh all over again. Every time he reveals himself, some more of himself and you, we fall in love all over again because we're continuing to see more of him. He is so vast, he is so great. It's a continued revelation of himself, and so, man, maybe we can't even get over worship, you're so consumed in awe of him that, wow, it's like time doesn't matter. Of course, we won't be governed by time. Time doesn't matter. Yes. All right. So now, in here it says we're talking about the word Gentiles. It says the Gentiles shall come, and they have from the ends of the earth here. Some translation will say from the four corners of the earth. The Besorah here says from the ends of the earth. That's better than four corners. Okay. It's basically mean from all over the earth. It's a really better translation. From all over the earth. There's Gentiles. So the Gentiles are those who were divorced and scattered. The 10 tribes of Yasharal, the divided house. Yasharal was divided into 2 houses, as we know from the scriptures. The book of Kings, 1 Kings chapter 11, lays it out, right? Started out with Dahud's disobedience. And then it goes on to Shalomah. Yes, absolutely. Just his presence will be something. Absolutely. So so here he's talking about the 10 tribes, not talking about the nations. It's important for us to get that, because you see, Christianity and Judaism is just absolutely hypocritical, because among themselves they are it, and everybody else is swines among themselves. But to have influence over people and to mislead people, they give you a feeling of belonging. So they teach this thing of the nations becoming spiritual Jews. It's hypocrisy. Get to know their teachings. There are videos on YouTube where they talk among themselves, and you really hear what they think from a religious perspective about other people. Yes, get to know what they really think. It's not what they preach from their synagogue when they're black people sitting in the pulpit, in the pews. Yes. Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up, Yana. Yep. And the reason why we're black is because we have the curse of Ham. That's their teaching, and the teaching of Christianity. All false teaching. Yep. That's why we're undesirables. Now, so verse 19, O Yahuwah, my strength and my stronghold and my refuge in the days of distress, the Gentiles shall come to you from the ends of the earth and say, our fathers have inherited only falsehood. The Gentiles will come to Yahuwah and say, our fathers have inherited only falsehood. There will come a time, the scripture says, when the Gentiles, the scattered people of Yasharal, will come before Yahuwah and say, our fathers have inherited falsehood. Now this goes back to something we were talking about last night. Do you think that it is impossible for the majority of our people that have lived to have perished? Do you think that that is impossible? If that's not the case, the truth is, in many occurrences that is the case. The majority of our people that have lived have perished. They have inherited falsehood. Why? It's a part of the curse. That's a hard thing for a lot of people to accept, but it's a part of the curse. Because of our wickedness, many of our people will perish. Many of our people have perished, and many will perish. Listen, when Nebuchadnezzar went into Yasharal and took that city, do you think that it was the majority of the people that were carried into Babylon captives? Or do you know that the majority was actually slaughtered there in the city? The majority was slaughtered in the city. It was a very few that was taken into captivity. And you know the ones that they took into captivity? Those who were brilliant and strong. Those were the ones they took, the strongest. The rest, they slaughtered them in great numbers. That's why the scripture says, Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim. It speaks about Yerushalayim crying out for its young. A great lamentation was heard in the city. Yerushalayim crying out for its young because they were slaughtered. And that has always been the case. Because of our disobedience, we have always paid a high price. So for all these many years that we have been in this captivity and inheriting these lies, you better believe that the vast majority of our people have simply perished. That's a fact. That's one that a lot of people don't want to own up to or think that it could be so, but that's the truth. And even with those who are living, it is still only a remnant that will hear the truth and turn to it. Even with those who live. And even when Yahuwah returns, among the wicked there will be people of Yasharal who will curse Yahuwah, even in the face of his wrath. They will curse him. People of Yasharal, natural seed, will curse him. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Akut. Many think their black skin will save them, and many think their black skin have saved them. A lot of people who have come to a knowledge of the truth, they can't face the fact that, you know what, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my great-great-grandmother may have simply perished. She was black, she was Yasharal, so after all, she must have made it in. That's not necessarily the case, family. What does he say here? How can you inherit lies and inherit life? How can one inherit lies and inherit life? Are lies the keys to life? Or is it the key to death? So he says here, our fathers have inherited only falsehood, futility, and there is no value in them. They have inherited lies that have no value in them. They are futile. What does it mean to be futile? To be futile means the thing that they inherited has no life in it. Brings forth no life. It is barren. It is dead. There is no benefit to it. They benefited nothing from what they inherited. But yet there's a lot of people who have a hard time believing that the people who went on before us simply perished. And so we begin to make up doctrines to appease our desires. Yes, Akut, but it is what it is. I've talked to people who really have a hard time with accepting that. So he says, it is futility and there is no value in them. Okay? Another text we want to look at. We want to look at another text. No, we haven't gotten really, we're laying the groundwork as we're prepared to go into the feast, looking directly at Passover. And what I want us to remember from this study is the fact that we have inherited many lies, and I want us to remember the role that Judaism play in the lies that we have inherited. And just as Christianity has shaped our understanding of what we read in the scriptures and have caused us not to see what we see, Judaism have done the same thing, and perhaps have done even greater travesty in that regards when it comes to the law. Yes, absolutely, Akut. Oh no, not my mother, not my father, etc. Absolutely. Well, not that you dare not, Akut, babe. You can have questions. Well, you know, it can be hard to accept. And it is a hard thing to accept, but simply because it is a hard pill to swallow, it doesn't mean that, you know, we go and make excuses, which is what some people have done. Make excuses that is shown through doctrines, false doctrines that are created, because they can't accept that, you know. Yes, we have all inherited lies. Oh yes, absolutely, Wayne. We have all inherited lies. Okay, let me say this, Wayne. I'm glad you point that out. And when I say, listen, when I say we have all inherited lies, it's not limited to skin color. Okay? But let me just say this also, Aki, Wayne. I'm going to talk about the Jews here for a minute. And others, other nationalities, even our educators, the educators that have educated us and educated people before us, the people that writes what the so-called history of this country. American history begins with George Washington, okay? But though America was not the name of the land before those people came here, though America was not the name of the land existed long before that and has a history. So if you want to rename the land America and say you're going to teach American history, why start at George Washington? Why not go beyond that when you know you have history that goes beyond that? But yet, as far as you're concerned, this is American history. The people that were here before doesn't matter. It's like they never existed. This is American history. Yeah. No, that's not history. That's lies. That's American lies. Okay? Oh, okay. I've never heard of that book, Akut. I've got to look it up. Yes, that's his story. Yes. That's exactly what it is, Aki. That's his story. That's not the facts. Yes, it was something like that, Aki. Something either that or something close to it. I don't remember the exact way it's written now, but it's something close to that. Yes, and it was named after Amerigo. Oh no, before America, I think the question Aki Ariyahu was asking wasn't that the name of the land before that. No, that wasn't the name of the land. That wasn't the name of the land. That wasn't what the Indians named it. Wasn't close. It wasn't even close to what it is today. You know, it wasn't like they simply transliterated the name to America. It wasn't even close to that, you know. What the name of the Indians, and I've got to look at that again. I was just going over that information around Thanksgiving. It's just not coming back to me right now. But they totally renamed the land, so it's not like they just transliterated the name. You know, they changed the name. American history will tell you that it was named after the Spaniard, after a Spaniard. You know. You see, a lot of times when we talk about history and the Europeans and so on, we forget. I have a feeling sometimes that people forget that the Spaniards are a part of Europe, that they're Europeans, and the role that they played in history. You see, in many instances, as a matter of fact, in the majority of places, the Spanish were there even before the British came. Then the British came and fought their own people, their own brothers, because they're all Europeans. They came and fight the Spaniards, kill the Spaniards, and take what the Spaniards had. You see? The Spaniards came and took Mexico from the Indians, and then the other Europeans came and took Mexico from the Spaniards. And the rest of America from the Spaniards. And Jamaica from the Spaniards. And Barbados from the Spaniards. And Trinidad from the Spaniards. And all these other places from the Spaniards. The Spaniards were brutal. The Spaniards were wicked. But those who came and took it from them were wickeder. Absolutely. What goes around comes around, a coat. Den of thieves. My grandmama always says she used the pagan title. I'm sure people are familiar with that saying. I'm just going to say the creator in the place of the pagan title. But she would say, when this is not the way she said it. I'm just going to say it where you can understand it. Well, she say, when a thief steals from a thief, the creator laughs. You know, he don't bother to get in the middle of it. He just laugh at them both. You know, and so you had a whole lot of that going on. Thieves stealing from thieves. Yep. And nonetheless, you know, we have inherited many lies. That's the point. We have inherited many lies. Now, family, it's 4:54. I'm going to go to one more verse and we're going to stop. You know what? Because there is so much to cover, and Passover will be here before we know it. For this evening, I think that what I'd like to do, because I haven't even gotten to where I want to get to yet, I would like to come back later on this evening after we take a 2-hour break or so, and just to begin to go. We're beginning the study, but we're laying the groundwork. The fact that we must understand that we have inherited many lies, and the fact that we must understand that a lot of things that we believe, if when we begin to examine it, we will really find out that a lot of things that we believe is shaped by what we heard coming from synagogue, or what we see coming from synagogue. Why? And why did it latch on so well? Because we have perceived the synagogue to be lawful. And so even though when we go to read, what we're reading is not what we're practicing, we can't see that what we're reading is not what we're practicing, because this picture of lawfulness have truly blinded our eyes to what is written as opposed to what is practiced. So we want to really get to that, but we want to really go over the fact that we have inherited lies as a people, and some of the ways that we have inherited those lies, the impact that those lies have had on us. And that's why I'm going over this the way I am right now, but we really want to begin to talk about Passover. Okay, I'm going to go to one more verse, and then we're going to break, and then we'll come back a little bit later on. After about a 2-hour break or so, we'll come back, okay? So we're going to be looking at this, but it's a lot to cover, and I don't want to keep delaying it. I'd say, okay, let's pick up next Shabbat, but I want to cover a little bit. I want to get started now because we have a lot to cover, and I'd like to get it done before Passover. Okay, so that's why I'm going to come back later on and get started there. I'm not going to hold you long, maybe an hour and a half or so when we come back, and that's it, okay? And then we'll pick up next week, Yahuwah willing. All right, so we'll do that. Oh, about 7 p.m. Aki, D'Anthony, about 7 p.m. Eastern time. 7 p.m. Eastern time. I'm in the East, so 7 p.m. Eastern. It's 4:56 now, so we'll return at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I want to go to one more verse before we take our break, okay? Yes, absolutely, Akodiana. Aki Ariyahu, I missed your comment, Aki. Oh, Aki, I have so much to learn on the lies about everything. It's, don't get frustrated, Aki. By all means, don't get frustrated. Just be patient. Just be patient. And know this, that the race is not given to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, but to those who will endure to the end. It is those that endure to the end that shall be saved. And so we've got to be able to endure. Okay? So, be encouraged and just, be an endurer. Yes. Be an endurer. It's not about how fast you start out and how quick you run the race. This ain't about speed, because this isn't about proving anything to any man. This isn't about serving Yahuwah. Is not about showing off to any man. you know. And you know what's unfortunate? I say this. I don't talk. I don't make reference to myself because I want to. But I think based on some of the accusations that have been hurled at me continually, maybe it will help somebody else, okay? But, excuse me, Deborah. But, so that's the only reason why I make reference to things that I've endured. You know, when I come to this mic or when I get on Facebook or wherever I get and I talk about the word, I don't talk about it. I don't go there trying to show off to anybody about what I know. This is not about trying to prove what I know. That's not what it's about. You see. There are times when I see things said and I know based upon my study of the scriptures it's not correct, but you know what? For the sake of not seeming like I know it all, even though it's wrong and it's probably affecting somebody else, I keep my mouth quiet. But what I've found is that for the most times when I open my mouth, the first thing somebody accuses me of is that I think I'm a know-it-all. Simply, listen, we have a responsibility. The scripture says that we are to study to show ourselves approved unto Yahuwah, a workman needing not to be ashamed, but rightly dividing, and dividing is not the right word. I'm going to go along with what they have in the King James right now. Rightly dividing the word of truth. Okay? And so we have a responsibility to study the word and to know the word and to share the word and to correct error. To correct error. But sometimes, oftentimes, very, very, very often, it's happened to me time and time again. And I'm not saying it because I'm throwing no pity party, because I'm not sorry for myself. But often, very, very often, whether it's on Facebook or in other places, and even by people who have been in this room, let me get a couple of napkins, Key Mark. You know, I've been accused of being a know-it-all. You know why? Because people, when they're wrong, and if you say something, they get offended. And therefore, they want you to make it, they want people to think that you're puffed up and prideful. Guess what? I don't care. I don't care about, I'm nothing. Listen, I'm a nobody, okay? And I don't say that wanting you to think nothing different. I'm a nobody. I'm nobody, okay? I'm a nobody. You understand? I'm a nobody. I'm a dude that grew up in Jamaica, went to school barefooted, ate from trash cans because we were so poor. Okay? And I'm still poor. I'm a nobody. So I'm not here to give no picture that I'm priest so and so, or no, I'm a nobody. I just simply want to serve Yahuwah. Because I desire to serve him and to please him, then it drives me to want to learn about him. And the more I learn about him, the more I want to talk about him. And so I can't help it if when it goes in, it's got to come out. I don't do it to put anybody down or to make anybody feel bad, because I'm a nobody. Dawood said, I am but a worm. Yes, you know, so that's just the way it is, family. So, you know, I'm not here to prove anything. Never have been. And I was never one to seek popularity. When people get mad at me, it encouraged me to talk more about the things that make them mad at me. It's kind of like the way I am, you know. And so because of that, I've never had a lot of friends. You know? Yes, I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody about somebody that can save anybody. Aki Antonio. Praise Yah. Halal Yah. Hakot. Praise Yahuwah. Praise Yahuwah. We're going to go to one more verse, family, and then we're going to take a break, okay? Yirmiyahu chapter 8. Yirmiyahu chapter 8 and verse 8. I'm reading from the Basora. Yirmiyahu chapter 8 and verse 8. We have all inherited lies. You know, oh wait, let me just say this real quick. Again, I started to and I forgot what I was saying. You see, the Jews and these other people who are in charge of the world, when they made up their lies and they wrote their lies, they did not go around telling the population, listen, these are lies we made up, but we want you to know that they're lies, but just act to everybody else as if they're absolute truth. No, they didn't do that. They wrote the lies, and because they want the lies to stick around, because you see, there are people who want to paint themselves. You see, okay, if I can say this, you see, Yasharal and even some people and black people, period. You look at Africa. One of the problems with black people, let me talk about black people, okay? One of the problems with black people is that black people are very self-centered and very selfish. Okay? Yes? One of the problems with black people is that black people are very self-centered and very selfish. As a people, we can be very self-centered and very selfish. You know, somebody say we're like crabs in basket. You know? One try to climb up, and everybody else in the basket pull him down. So, black people as a whole don't think about themselves from a communal perspective, from the perspective of a community. Okay? We don't think from the perspective of a community. We are thinking about ourselves. Whereas, other people, they think about community first. They think about painting a picture that makes the community, that makes them as a people look grand, look great. What do the black man do? Black man try to paint a picture that make him look great. Not his community look great, but make him look great. The other cultures seek to paint a picture that make their community, make their people look great. That's not always been the case. That has not always been the case as we study history. But some things went into place that brought about that outcome. Okay? Now, when you look at Hollywood, Hollywood is the greatest propaganda machine that exists today. You know, Hitler had a propaganda machine also. Where did Hollywood learn its tricks from? Where did Hollywood learn to produce movies the way they do from? Study history, and you will learn that. And when I say study history, and I'm not telling you that you haven't studied history, just my statement, okay, family? Or I should say, if you study history, you will learn that. Sometimes the way I talk might come across wrong. I apologize. I remember I said something like that one time and somebody was offended, and that it just reminded me of that. So that's why I pause, okay? And if we study history, we will learn that Hitler, he created a propaganda machine, a film industry, okay? It was ran by a woman, don't remember her name now, but that's what he used to get his propaganda out. Film. Hollywood took note from that. So people across the world, they watch Hollywood movies and they watch our music videos and stuff, and they get a picture of America that is simply amazing, powerful. Let me tell you, when I first came to this country, I landed in Philadelphia. Well, I had a connecting flight. I landed in Miami, then I came to Philadelphia. Miami airport is big, and you know, I was amazed by it, the size, you know. And you know, in Miami, the areas where I saw while I was in Miami, because I laid over there, and so the areas where I saw in Miami was beautiful. So I didn't, you know, it didn't hit me. I didn't have an awakening until I landed in Philadelphia, and we were driving over the bridge, and I remember getting on the highway and seeing some buildings that were dilapidated and collapsed and burned out. And I began to wonder, really, I was wondering in myself, am I in America? I was, really, because, yes, thank you, Yahuwah, that's her name. Lenny Raffenstahl, that's her name. Thank you, Aki. But I was driving from the airport, you know, my uncle came and picked me up, and I was riding in the car, and I began to wonder if I was in America. Yes, because you see, from what I saw in the movies and what I hear people talk about when they came to Jamaica, I was expecting to come to a place, and then as I'm looking at these buildings, you know, the car hit a rough spot of road and it go blue, 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 you know. And I was thinking that, yeah, I was thinking that, no, these streets are like totally smooth, no potholes. I mean, you know, just immaculate. That's the picture that I got from watching movies and listening to people. That's the picture that I got. Okay? That's the picture that I got. And the greatest picture, the means, the method that is used to paint that picture, people across the world, I guarantee you, go to Africa today, go to any poor country in the world and talk about America, and that's the picture a little kid is going to give you of America. America has streets that are paved with girl. Whoop, paved with girl. What did I? Oh boy. Paved with girl. Okay. Paved with gold. Okay. Oh man, I don't know where that came from now. All right. So now, I don't know. Maybe it's the billboards I'm talking about. But now, you know, but you go to some countries, and that's the picture that not just kids but people, grown people have of America. And you know where they get that from? From the movies. You see, Hollywood is good at selling America, but in selling America, it's not just selling America for what it is. It is painting a picture of a superpower in which there is no suffering, no poverty, no injustice.
Hey, come here, boy. Come here.
It's a picture of this great nation that should not be messed with. That's the picture. That's the propaganda. That's what the propaganda machine put out. And so a lot of people, if you talk to them, if you have the opportunity to talk to them, ask them to draw a picture of America and look at it and compare it to where you live. And you'll see that it's a totally different picture. And the question is, where did they get that picture? They got it from Hollywood. It's a propaganda machine. Another thing, a part of my rude awakening, when I got off the plane and I drove, so I came across the highway and I saw these dilapidated buildings, and I was thinking, I can't be here, I can't be there. Then I got to where I'm supposed to be. And, you know, this has to do with my family too. You know, my family came and they don't give you an inclination of what it really is like. You know, you get this picture of something else. So I was thinking I was getting ready now to pull up in a driveway, the driveway of a mansion. And I looked, my uncle pulled up in front of a bunch of houses that are connected together. We don't, you know, bunch of row houses. And that was another awakening. He said, we're here. And I'm thinking he was just stopping maybe then to get something or something. He said, we're here. And that was another shock. Because in the movies, I see big houses. I see houses that stand alone. But I was saying that the people that have fed us lies, when they wrote the lies, they didn't sit down. You know, of course, they believe in this hierarchy. You see, they believe in this hierarchy. So there are people at higher levels who know what the truth is because they've been told what the truth is. Because after all, they want to hold on to their culture. They want to keep their culture. They want to hold on to their culture. So they don't just totally replace their culture with the lie that they stole. What they do is they mix the lie with their culture, but they still teach their culture to their children. But the population as a whole, and even for many of their children, while they might tell the older one, they don't tell it to everybody. But what they do is they write this lie and they give it and they educate the population with it. And the population then learn that this is truth when it's really not truth. But there are those who know from generation to generation that know that it's not. They know where the truth begins and where it ends and where the lies begin and how it has been mixed. Yeah. And so there are people who today of other nationalities who have inherited many lies and don't know that they have inherited lies. There are Jews living in Israel that don't know the truth, that they are not the people of the land. They're totally convinced that they are the people of the land and the people of the book, for those who believe. Listen, of all the Jews in Israel, only a small population, only about 2%, the last figures that I heard, only about 2% of them have any form of belief in the scriptures. The rest of them are opportunists who decided to, because their brothers and sisters had cohabited with Yasharal, and taken the identity of Yasharal, they decided, you know, we are them too, so they came along. But the majority of the people in Yasharal are non-believers. They believe in pagan stuff, or they're atheists, but they don't believe in the scriptures at all. The majority, 98% of them don't. The 2% that believe are those who have, yes, they're secular. The 2% of them that believe are from those who have intermingled with Yasharal. They have Abri blood in them. That's the 2%. And the 2% is at odds with the 98%. The 2% don't even believe that the 98% should be there. And they say this. Those 2%, many of them, most of them, are also extremely hateful and racist and prejudiced and biased and wicked. You can see their racist statements and videos on YouTube. They're there. Okay. So that's just the reality of it. I'm going to go to one verse and we're going to... Oh, wow, it's 5:23. I'm sorry, family. Go to one verse and we're going to break, okay? The fact that we have all inherited lies. Let's look at one more verse. Yirmiyahu, chapter 8 and verse 8. Yirmiyahu, chapter 8 and verse 8. How do you say we are wise and the Torah of Yahuwah is with us? How do you say we are wise and the Torah of Yahuwah is with us? But look, the false pen of the scribe has worked falsehood. You see, I talk about the Bible as opposed to the scriptures. And there are people, I say again, there are people who have left the church and they cleave to the King James Bible. You can't talk about King James, they'll kill you. I'm talking about people who call themselves Hebrews. Can't talk about the King James or the English Bible. They will, if they could get a hand on you, they'll kill you. I've had many of them attack me on YouTube, sending me messages on YouTube because I talk about the Bible and King James.
Call from wireless callers.
I'll have to silence this.
Call
Okay,
from wireless
talking about,
callers.
you know, yes, so, and they get up in arms on Facebook too. You know, the King James, they worship King James. There's a popular pastor, called himself a Hebrew, that a lot of people follow and listen to. He's on YouTube. And if you can't say anything against the King James, you know, can't say anything against the King James. So here's the question to people like that. Here's the question to people like that. It's a question. Yirmiyahu chapter 8 and verse 8. How do you say we are wise and the Torah of Yahuwah is with us? But look, the false pen of the scribe has worked falsehood. Hear what he's saying? What Yahuwah is letting us know is that the translators have lied to us. So when you go talking about swearing by the Bible, you're swearing by lies. Because the false pen of the scribes have just distorted the truth. So if we're not doing our research, we depend on the Bible, we would never know the name of the Creator. We depend on the Bible, we'd never know the truth about His law, really. Because even in the Bible, listen, we got to keep in mind that the Bible was written by lawless people. And words are put in there to communicate lawlessness, to make us think that the law is done away with. The Bible was written by lawless people. So, you swear by the Bible, you're swearing by a book that was named after a pagan deity, in whose pages the true names of the Creator have been removed and replaced with the names of idols, and named after a man. A man, I've heard, is a homosexual. Or was a homosexual. By the way, you know, homosexuality was very common among especially I could say from movies. I watch different movies about the kings. It's interesting that they put these things in these movies, because you see, homosexuality today, homosexuality is a good thing. Again, it's a good thing. So they don't have a problem putting it in their movies. So certain movies that they put out, about epic movies about the kings of England and so on, they show in those movies that these kings are homosexuals and stuff. You see that a lot of kings were homosexuals in some of these movies they're putting out. A lot of these people in high places were homosexuals. Well, it was common among the populations too. You know. So, now you see, you know, it's coming out the woodworks, it's coming out the closet, because it's okay. Yes, they're very proud of it. And you're going to see the more of that truth coming out, because, you know, it's good. It's okay. Well, family, I've kept you long enough from eating. We're going to stop here, and Yahuwah willing, hopefully an hour and a half is enough for you to get something to eat. We'll come back, Yahuwah willing, at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, family? So we're going to take a break here. There's my hope that thus far, and this is my prayer, that the things that we have discussed, mainly concerning the fact that we have inherited lies, that truth would really resonate, and that we would meditate on that and reflect on it, you know, because it is important to us coming to a knowledge of the truth.